Hey friends, I hope you're doing awesome today because we have something very interesting to get into, especially after yesterday's Fateless video. Whew, we got a lot to get into, so let's jump in. Alright, so today's video has gotten longer since yesterday's Fateless video. They gave a lot of information, especially that tied into what we are talking about today, and that is the story of Godforge. Maybe. We don't know yet exactly, but here are my speculations on what is going on. So if you haven't seen the announced trailer, I highly suggest you watch that. We'll go ahead and watch it here now. So. Watch it because a lot of what I'm about to get into is supported by this and from this. I'm so ready. Awesome. All right, so we're going to get into what I have come to believe this story might be about. So, obviously, Godforge is about the myths, legends, and the gods, and there is this heavy emphasis on mortals and immortals. Immortals being the gods, mortals being the myths and legends and stuff like that of the world. Most of them, some of them. So, why is it mortal versus immortal? So here's where we get down to the brass tacks of my theory. So mortal versus immortal. Ra being, if you watch the announced trailer, the only immortal that we see. Everybody else in the announced trailer is a mortal, which had me thinking it is just the mortals versus the immortals in the announced trailer. I don't know if that was by coincidence, on purpose, not. But these humans are just, these mortals are fighting Ra, and he's just demolishing them. And I'm talking like at the beginning, you can see a bunch of them congregated around where he launches that ultimate, essentially. Then you see Brunhild and Gilgamesh, and Brunhild obviously is fighting Ra, and Gilgamesh, I'll get into that in a second, but this mortal versus immortal is very important, and that was actually referenced and emphasized in yesterday's Fateless video. So, Ra, there's this myth called the Celestial Cow, and this research that I did, where humankind revolts essentially against Ra's rule, and so he creates the goddess Sekhmet and sends her down and punishes the humankind. Now, eventually Ra is satisfied, but Sekhmet is not, and she continues on a rampage, and depending on the myth version that you read, she either ends up getting convinced to just go away, or she is tricked into drinking an ocean full of beer and getting so drunk that she just stops. Now, one of the weird aspects is Ra in this. Yes, we see in the announced trailer, he's obviously slaughtering these mortals, like piled up, quite literally. And in something I'll show later, we see that he is fighting these mortals and saying how puny and everything like that they are. So he seems to be something of chaos, but from everything that we have seen, he is an order alignment. because so far we've seen there's order and chaos, and he is an order alignment, same as Brunhild, same as Gilgamesh. I don't think that someone, I don't know, maybe it's just, maybe, I don't know. I honestly don't know. That's just kind of a question mark in my book right there. So then we get to Gilgamesh. So if you don't know Gilgamesh's story, it's really long, but it's very good. So essentially, Gilgamesh and his friend Enkidu go on this journey, and they come back, and this goddess comes out. I think it's Isis or Iris or something like that. She tries to convince Gilgamesh to marry her, and he says no. So she turns Enkidu dead. She kills Enkidu. And Gilgamesh becomes, like it says here, afraid of his own death. And so he seeks out immortality. He seeks out the thing that the gods have over him. Because if you don't know, Gilgamesh is a demigod. He is 2/3 god, 1/3 human. How that makes sense, I don't know. But he's not immortal. So he seeks out immortality. And in the ways that he tries to, and he goes to Utnapishtim, who gives him two opportunities to become immortal, and he fails both of them through his own negligence. So coming back home after his whole hero's journey, he realizes that he's too human for immortality. So I'm really curious if Fateless is deciding to kind of take this a step further, and where Gilgamesh, while yes, up to this point he has been too human for immortality, if that's not his call to action for this story. And I'll get to why in a second when we talk about the villain of our story. The 2/3 god, 1/3 human, yet he cannot achieve immortality. So you can see, obviously he has power, just not immortality. And then Brunhild. So if you don't know Brunhild's story, her real world mythos, she was a Valkyrie, and she was told to go and decide by Odin, to go and decide the outcome of this specific battle. And Brunhild did not listen and chose the other side, which upset Odin. So Odin went and put her to sleep and surrounded her in a ring of fire on top of this mountain. Sigurd later came on and woke her up by separating her armor and stuff like that, which I think is really interesting because, if you can see right here, she's not completely covered in armor, and obviously it's probably an artistic take and, trying to appeal to a certain audience. However, it's kind of funny because Sigurd had to cut open her armor and take her out of it and stuff. So it would make sense that she would not want to be wearing a full suit of armor again. So I just think that's really funny. However, later on, her and Sigurd want to get married. They fall in love. They don't. They get married to other people, so on and so forth. But the story never goes back and says, oh, why did Odin do that to her? How is she not mad at Odin? And I feel like she has every right to be absolutely angered at Odin. So what if that is her call to action? She gets up and falls in love, but isn't allowed to love her lover, and she just takes all this vengeance out on Odin and the gods. How they can play cruel tricks on mortals like her and stuff like that. Even though she is a Valkyrie, she is still mortal. She's not immortal. She does end up dying in the myth. In some myths, she goes to the underworld and gets Sigurd. There's a lot, but I feel like that could be a call to action for her too, to rise up against these gods. So I'm talking a lot about the gods and Ra specifically being the only god. It's kind of a lie. I don't think that Ra is the only. Ra is the only god in the announced trailer, but he is not the only god-like power in the announced trailer, because you have this chalice. We don't know what this is. All of us content creators have our thoughts and stuff like that. I'll get into mine specifically. That was reinforced by yesterday's Fateless video again. But H Luck Gaming, if you haven't followed him or checked out his video, go check it out. He saw these 4 symbols on the wall, which I went and found other pictures of and the names and everything like that. So you have the Star of Ishtar right here, the Eye of Horus, the Triskelion, and the Vulcanite. So that's Norse, Celtic, Egyptian, Sumerian myths. And then you have this chalice, and you have two characters here, Gilgamesh and this bird, black bird, not raven, black bird, as Simon said. So my thought at first, we don't know exactly what this is, but this is a place of the gods, obviously, because of the different religious symbols and everything like that, and it's just powerful and stuff like that. And I feel like, I mean, Gilgamesh has this torch. It seems like he's come on this long journey. He's wearing this cloak and stuff. I don't think he's supposed to be here, but he is. And in the next moments, when he smashes this thing, it releases all of this power. So is this how gods hold their power? It doesn't seem like Gilgamesh is absorbing that power. He is just releasing it. He is just letting it go. It does not go into him or anything like that. He does not become more powerful in the video that we see. He just releases it. So I don't know if this is something that the gods are taking from the mortals, if this makes people immortal, if it is going to weaken the gods. We don't know exactly, but there is something happening here, obviously. So in this shot, they are the same shot. It is Brunhild attacking Ra, a god, a mortal attacking an immortal, and it is Gilgamesh attacking this chalice. Immortal attacking the immortal is my speculation, that it has something to do with the power of the gods. So, why is the question? And I have a couple thoughts here as to why this could be happening. Why are the mortals rising up against the immortals? My first one is enough. You can see that, like, Ra just, like I said, demolishes all of these humans. I mean, these are all soldiers. Only mortal soldiers and one god, and you can see him standing here in the video, but it is just Ra destroying these mortals. And you can even see from the Fateless video yesterday, Ra saying, "Still you persist, foolish mortals, you are nothing." Why is he saying that? Ramses, your reign ends. We all feel the power of divine radiance now. Divine radiance. Is that immortality? Is that legends and myths becoming gods, essentially? I don't know. Brunhild says, "We'll snuff out your flickering light, godling." Ross's flickering light, feel the power of the sun. So, let's not get there yet. So I just feel like maybe there's this, whenever I first read this, I thought Ramses said, "Your terrible reign ends," or "Your reign of terror ends." It doesn't say that, but that's the vibe that I was getting, is that maybe in this take, this being what we assume the tutorial, maybe in this take, the mortals are just fed up with the gods ruling over them for their own different reasons, and they just decided to take what they believe is theirs. I mean, obviously, all of the Egyptian rulers were thought to be gods. Maybe they wanted to be gods. Guan Yu is said, I believe, was said to have been a demigod. Lady Jacques, I'm not sure, but they all have these reasons to want to fight back against the gods. And specifically this, "we all feel the power of divine radiance now," is very intriguing and makes me think of the chalice. We all feel the power of divine radiance. I mean, that's pretty radiant, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. So, another option is tarnished. And what do I mean by tarnished? If you know Elden Ring, it's essentially what it means. So, there's a couple mentions of it. This is a screenshot of a Fateless video. This is a screenshot pulled from Ragewood Gaming, and Ragewood has some very awesome ideas on this stuff as well, so go check out his videos and his website to learn more about Godforge. So it says, "Slay the tarnished enemies of legend to earn powerful rewards." And here from Ragewood Gaming, it says, "In Demo 2.0, we were shown the above image," which was this one. It was another image, but it's going to reference this one. It talks about world bosses and fighting tarnished enemies. It says a cylindrical turntable, blah, blah, blah. There's obviously some in-game lore and backstory behind this, but perhaps the gods themselves have been tarnished or cursed. But once we defeat them, we cleanse them of this ailment, becoming untarnished, and they join our team. Simon did reveal in his stream last weekend that world bosses would give hero rewards like fusions would. So essentially, maybe because as it was seen, Ra doesn't have his wings in this and everything, and he's not really glowing that much. I mean, he is a little bit. I don't know if that's just VFX or what. Maybe he's not entirely himself. Maybe he is tarnished or cursed and is wreaking havoc across the land. Maybe has been for quite some time due to something happening. And so these legends and myths, these mortals had to rise up and find a way to combat the gods to stop them from just waltzing all over humanity. I don't know. I think that's a really interesting fact. I think it might be a little bit too played out. So I don't necessarily believe that's what Fateless is going with. However, it is an option, and I would be happy to see it. Obviously, they're going to have some wonderful takes on stuff, but that per se is not my favorite theory, but it is a theory nonetheless. Another one is to gain or end immortality. So obviously, Gilgamesh breaking this thing and not absorbing it into himself. We don't know if that's just going away, if it is going into him and we just don't see it, if it's going into the Blackbird character. We don't know if he is immortal at this point or if he's still mortal. I mean, obviously Ra calls Ramses and Guan Yu and all them mortals. However, getting into this a little bit, if you watched my previous video on the starter champions, you will see that I was guessing that there's going to be 3 to choose from, that being Ramses, Guan Yu, and Lady Jacques. And I believe that is confirmed because in yesterday's Fateless video, we see this. After this intro and Ra destroys them all, it comes to this, choose a name, one to resonate throughout the ages, where you have 3 crystals, keep that in mind, crystals, and 3 humanoid figures, where there are 3 humanoid figures that we were just fighting with, other than Brunhild, right here for the choosing. And obviously Fate is Fateless. I just thought that was amazing, and I'll get into why either in this video or in another video. But so you're getting to choose the 3 out of the 3. You get to choose one to resonate throughout the ages. They obviously just died and they're immortal, so you are essentially bringing them back and making them immortal with this crystal that is blue, just like the chalice was. And it looks very crystalline. It is maybe it is holding a crystal or something like that. I'm going to go more in depth, but what is in a name? So obviously Fate and Fateless. From Fateless's website, our fate is not predetermined. Instead, it is forged by the choices we make. From this idea, Fateless was born to create captivating games that put people first. Our destiny is our own. As an independent studio, our mission is to foster a strong player community filled with innovation and dynamic experiences. And then trailblazing a new age, collaboration, creativity, and unbound fate are our core. Founded and funded by a team of friends, we've exceeded even our own expectations. Join us as we blaze a path for the future of community-driven gaming. So even in the name, even on their website, they've kind of alluded to this whole fact of fateless. There is no fate. There is a fate, but we get to choose what our fate is. And obviously you can see the 3 figures that I believe are the starting champions with 3 crystals. And then we get to Godforge, the name Godforge, that I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about specifically. A God forge. Forging of the gods, forging of a god. Obviously, from one of the more recent demo videos, you can see from this screenshot of in-game engine right now, the Godforge in the Sanctum, essentially. You see these pillars and this glowing blue light that's radiating in this circular room. It looks very familiar, and if you watched, which you just did, if you watched the announced trailer, blue glowing thing up in the air, and you have the pillars, and you have all of this. It seems like this is maybe not a god forge, but something that helps in the forging of the gods. And so when you go into the God Forge, in God Forge, it's pulling your crystals, as they call crystals specifically. That's where you pull and you get your champions. So if this crystal is something like we see in the intro, and this is the animation, obviously very placeholder, and you smash it with a hammer. Obviously Gilgamesh didn't have a hammer, but he had an axe, and he smashed it. So that action is very reminiscent of what we will be doing in the game. As a character, as they said in the narrative podcast, as a character, us, the player, smashing these crystals just like Gilgamesh is, it seems like Gilgamesh might be trying to resurrect, bring back a character, a person to help him, or not even bring back, but immortalize this being. Maybe it could be the Blackbird. Maybe it could be someone else trapped in that crystal. We don't know exactly how the crystals work, but I mean, it looks like that they would be trapped in their individual crystals. And so he's releasing that energy. So maybe every time one of these are cracked, it releases and steals energy from the gods and puts it into the soul that was trapped in it or something. I'm not entirely sure, but it's just all of this is very reminiscent and connection, and I don't think a lot of it is speculation. I think that it is on purpose, and they are very much alluding to these systems and how they work and the lore behind it, and I love it. I love it. I know this is a very long video. That's really all I have, but just as a recap to go back over it, this is mortals versus immortals. Obviously, as they talked about in the narrative podcast, you're gonna have gods on your team and such, and that's what plays into maybe the tarnished is an aspect, because if we cleanse them, then they can join our team, and so that would make sense as to how we get gods and stuff on our team. But that's not guaranteed, obviously. Like I said, I believe that maybe it's just the storyline, and that yes, some gods are not as mean as others and everything like that. So mortals versus immortals to gain an or end immortality, or both, or I don't know, but these characters are just there and living and thriving. Supposedly, not this dude, but they, even though they die in this, their souls live on, and it is up to us, like Gilgamesh, to release them and to fight back against the gods? Question mark. That is really all I have. I know, again, it's a long video. I'll try to shorten it up as much as I can. Thank you for sticking out if you have. I know it's a lot to go into and a lot to cover and a lot of speculation, but there's too many red strings connecting things that I really don't think a whole lot of it is speculation, but we'll see from Fateless. So thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.